Before starting the episode of All Podcasters Die, I'd like to give a trigger warning for sexual assault. Thank you, and enjoy the episode. Hey, this is All Podcasters Die, the podcast for queers, horror fans, and undead cheerleaders alike. I'm Anastasia Scott, and this is my lovely fiancé,
Hannah Wintz.
And this is our first ever episode of All Podcasters Die. Yay!
Today we will be discussing All Cheerleaders Die.
And we thought it would be appropriate, since All Cheerleaders Die is kind of our namesake.
It would feel very wrong to do anything else.
We show it to literally anyone who will let us.
And we've seen the movie, I've seen it like maybe 5 or 6 times before.
And a quick synopsis about All Cheerleaders Die, if you are not familiar with it. It is about a girl named Maddie who joins the cheerleading squad in order to get revenge on Terry, who is the captain of the football team. And along the way, Maddie and the other cheerleaders reckon with supernatural forces that'll change the football season forever.
It's quite the movie, I'll tell you.
It takes a really quick turn. Like, at first it's very kind of silly, very campy, and then all of a sudden it gets really dark and, like, real-life scary issues.
Would you like to explain what a camp movie is? Real quick.
I feel like I should know a better way to describe this, but how I identify a camp horror movie is if it's silly, it doesn't take itself seriously, if it falls into the common tropes of like, oh, here's the jock, here's the cheerleader character, here's our final girl, here, like those sorts of tropes that it falls into where it doesn't take itself too seriously, but is also kind of, it's bad, but not in like,
it knows
awful,
it's bad.
Yes, it knows it's bad. It's a very self-aware movie. It's not like a bad movie. It's just a bad movie, if you understand what I mean by that.
No,
what...
I'd say that's basically what a camp movie is. I mean, this movie's still bad, I think. Can camp be good?
I think camp can be appreciated.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, there's a reason they keep making them.
This is true. Well, they're funny.
And they're easy.
They are
you already
easy.
have all the character, like, requirements there. You just have to fill in the blanks, pretty much.
That's true. And there is quite the cast of characters as well.
So, our main character, her name is Maddie. She has sort of that rebel, kind of too cool for you girl personality.
She's not very interesting.
She's not the most interesting out of the cast, no. I think you're supposed to find her relatable.
The characters, I feel like, generally in this movie aren't very...
They're very
2D.
Bland.
Yeah. They don't. There's not a whole lot of substance to them.
Which is kind of the common theme with the campy horror movies.
Yeah, it makes sense, because, I mean, there's the possibility that anyone's gonna die at any moment. Maddie's just pretty forgettable, and she has her best friend, Lena.
I wouldn't call her a best friend.
Well, they were past best friends.
They were past best friends, but Maddie is she pushes her away a lot, but Lena is a witch, and she has this very obvious crush and obsession with Maddie. She's almost stalkerish.
You have something against Lena, I think.
She names her cat after her. It's weird.
I mean, yeah, but also she is a witch. As I'm gonna say probably multiple times, she's a witch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she stands out most compared to any of the characters. She is the most interesting of all of them.
Well, I think there's also helpful with the fact that her wardrobe is significantly different to everyone else's. Everyone else throughout the entirety of the movie wears their cheerleading outfit. However, Lena, she has the dark clothes and the emo 2000s eyeliner that just is covering her eyes.
It's a look.
It's a look. I mean, I'd wear it. I'm not saying it's a bad look. I'm just saying it's a look.
I don't hate Lena. Obviously, I should have said she's the most interesting character. I just do think she is a little obsessed and stalkery. There are some unhealthy bits about her.
Well, yeah.
I don't hate her, but she is a bit stalkery and creepy. I'm gonna say it. And then we have Terry, who is the captain of the football squad. And
who is way more creepy
and
stalkery.
I was gonna say that. Terry, who is the absolute scariest character in this entire movie. He is my absolute worst nightmare.
I think Terry is most women's worst nightmare, honestly.
For multiple reasons that are revealed throughout the movie. Terry is just a very violent man. He has anger issues, and his immediate reaction is to either punch or murder or whatever he can do, and everyone is scared of him in this movie.
And they generally all listen to him and don't do anything to stop any of the bad choices that he decides to make throughout the movie. And then next, we have lovely Tracy.
Who is our cheerleading captain, and she is dating Terry. There's not a whole lot to say about her, honestly. She's kind of a chaotic character.
I don't know how much of her we actually get before all of the shit goes down.
Not a lot.
She just gives into the whole supernatural aspects fairly quickly, I feel like. She doesn't really care much. She just wants
She's
to...
a very go-with-the-flow character.
Yeah.
And then we have Martha and Hannah, who are her sisters that are on the cheerleading squad. And Martha is the very good girl Christian type who is dating Manny.
And then you have Hannah, who I don't think she's necessarily the good girl type or the bad girl type. She's just the, I'm in my sister's shadow, so I try and do anything to go outside that shadow.
And Hannah has a crush on Manny.
So that causes many issues.
And then obviously Manny is Martha's boyfriend, Hannah's crush.
Who's a pussy, I'm just gonna say.
I don't know how he scored Martha, because Martha's beautiful and Manny is...
Not.
He's Manny. He's Manny.
He has this awful bowl, long like grown
Very
out
early,
bowl.
like 2000s sort of haircut. He's also on the football squad. Pretty much everyone we're mentioning is either on the cheer squad or the football squad.
Which they have aptly named the bitches and the dogs. The bitches being the cheerleaders and the dogs being the football players. Because they're the hound dogs or something like
They're
that.
the black dogs, I think.
Black bloodhounds?
I don't
I don't know. Some kind of dog is their mascot. I don't remember. I just know it's a dog.
And then we have Ben, who is our token stoner character. He has a little stoner van.
That has a huge hound dog on the side that's smoking.
It is a very obvious stoner van. I don't know how he's allowed to take it to school and doesn't get caught with it.
And they just randomly go out to the stoner van to smoke during class. Which, again, I don't know how they got away with it. I knew kids in high school who got high and came to school, but they didn't have a huge van.
It's a very, like, Scooby-Doo-esque van, too.
Oh, it is.
And our final character that we're going to mention is Vic, who is the goodest guy you're going to get in this movie. He's the quarterback of the football team, and he has this big crush on Maddie, our main character.
Which is what drives a lot of his a good guy-ness. I don't know if he's necessarily the best guy. Like, I feel like he does have a good heart, but a lot of it stems from the fact that he does have a crush on Maddie.
Oh, compared to the rest of the guys, Vic is as good as it's gonna get in this movie.
Well, no, definitely. I'm not disagreeing. I just think that it's a possibility that Maddie, like, his crush on Maddie is what really helps that, you know? And I will say, there is not...
This is not like a big name cast, is it?
No, I honestly did not recognize a single person in this movie.
No, I kept thinking Tracy was Ashley Tisdale, though, but I knew she was not.
She wasn't Ashley Tisdale.
How does the movie start? Because
It
we
starts
should
with-
go through the...
Right, it starts with Maddie filming Alexis, the
Oh,
cheerleader
yeah.
who's her friend. And so it starts out with us meeting this girl named Alexis, she's on the cheerleading squad, and she's on her way to be the cheerleader captain. And she's friends with Maddie. She video records stuff, and so she's video recording Alexis. And for some reason, they don't like Maddie. I guess it's just teenagery stuff.
I don't know. I was gonna say maybe it's because she's gay, but...
Oh, that's true. That could be because she's gay.
Yeah, because they had that thing where, like, oh, like, you and Lena have a thing. Anyways, so she's recording Alexis, and Alexis is being all, like, show-offy and doing their little cheers and stuff. And then she goes to do this...
Very high,
like, flip-a-ma-doo trick, and... You hear the ugliest fucking crunch of her neck. Every time I've watched it, I've, like, cringed. I
don't like the sound, but I appreciate that we never see it.
I mean, I feel like you see most of it.
Yeah, but you don't ever see her, like...
Bones sticking out?
Yeah, like...
No, you just,
you
like,
could,
see her,
and
like,
it's-
going head down onto the ground.
You know what happens, but you never actually see it.
Also, just something I wrote down, the very first thing I wrote down, it said, why is it a movie trope that cheerleaders wear their uniforms to school? Because when any other athletic group does it, it's like dorky, or like if a band kid wore their uniform to school.
Could you imagine?
I just thought it was silly. Like, the uniforms are so showy, no way would they have gotten away with that.
Are you kidding? No, I don't even remember ever, like, the cheerleaders at my school wearing just the cheerleading outfit. Like, they always wore sleeves underneath the cheerleading outfit.
Yeah, it's because cheerleading is actually really fucking cold.
Yeah.
Anyways, like, their uniforms, it's like a bikini top is like the top. And then they have a very short mini skirt, and it's like pleather or something. It's this weird fabric. I don't know. It's very skin tight. There's lots of boobies in the entire movie.
I think this falls into the, like, high school trope that it wanted to be in college, but decided that high school was more relatable, I guess. Because literally, if you put this in college instead of high school, it would fit so much better. There is not a single parent in this movie.
Oh my god, you're right.
Not a single one. Just put it in college. It would make so much more sense. I am so concerned for these children. Where are their parents?
But then it moves on to after Alexis dies, there's like, do the auditions come next? Is that what happens next?
Yeah.
The auditions, like, it's like a few months later, and it's the first day of senior year. Or no, it's close to it. It's close to the first day.
2 days before.
And there's cheerleading tryouts because obviously they lost a cheerleader. And Maddie, who's the bookish type, is there to try out. And, like, all of the girls are like, what the hell are you doing here? Like, this isn't a joke to us. But yeah, so she tries out for the cheerleading team, makes it because she's amazing somehow. I don't know.
She was in gymnastics, remember?
In 7th grade. So she makes the cheerleading squad, and then later you can see she's getting ready to go somewhere.
And but before that, she does her video diary.
Where she explains that she's gonna, like, disguise herself as one of those bitches or whatever. And, like, it would be easy and just to pretend to be, like,
a cheerleader,
like,
so that she can get revenge on, like,
Terry. Who was Alexis's boyfriend.
And is now one of the cheerleaders that we meet.
Tracy.
Yeah, I know.
She's going to this cheerleading party, like this annual cheerleading party, and then as she's leaving her house, she runs into Lena. And the thing I'm confused about with Lena, because we don't get much background on her and Maddie, is Lena like a ex-lover, an admirer, a stalker, an ex-friend? Because it's so unclear because obviously they had something, like, whether it was a friendship or, I don't know, this...
Okay, I think they were friends, and they might have been, like, flirting with the idea.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Of being gay, if you did not catch on.
Of flirting with each other, you know, like, but I don't know. They might have gotten in a fight beforehand, because in the very beginning, when she's filming Alexis, she's like, Lena, go away.
But, yeah, so Lena comes up to Maddie and is like, oh, like, Maddie, come here, like, I need to, like, she has her cat that she essentially...
named Madeline.
Who she named Madeline after Maddie, which is why I was like, is this, like, creepy stalker vibes, or is this...
She is just a weird kid.
She doesn't know how to do relationships very clearly.
Then she goes to that, party after that.
There's a little cheerleading get-together.
Basically says, like, go away, Lena. And so the cheerleaders have their annual pool party, I guess, where the football players come in.
And here we also, at the party, I think, like, I feel like we have to explain this now, is the relationship between Martha and Hannah and Martha's boyfriend, Manny.
Yes.
Hannah has a crush on Manny, but Manny is dating Martha, who is Hannah's sister.
And also the fact that Martha babies Hannah so much.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's like, I wrote down, like, their relationship is so interesting and weird, and I don't know what to...
It is. There are multiple times where she's like, don't do that in front of my little sister.
Like smoke.
And then she puts her in little pigtails. Did you notice that? She braids her hair in 2 little pigtails, and it's like, you look so cute this way, or like, your cheeks look so cute, or something like that. And just, like, constantly is just babying her.
But yeah, the dogs come up and show up at the bitches' pool party, and they're like, we don't need your pool party, we're gonna go break into the school because we're cooler than you, blah, 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 and whatever. And you find out Tracy and Terry are together. So now they're dating very conveniently, like, immediately after Alexis had died, which was kind of a little suspicious to everyone.
But she explained it as, we were best friends, we liked all of the same things.
Like no big deal. Like,
yeah.
we just liked the same things. And then Terry gives Tracy the silvery bracelet.
And we noticed that, and it's like a big, like, ooh, moment. And then Tracy and Maddie have, like, this chit-chat about why Tracy got with Terry, and so it was because they were best friends, they liked all the same things. And Maddie asks her about how long they've been dating.
Yeah.
How it was at the end of the school year. But Maddie had heard that Cassie Decker had gotten with Terry.
So pretty much Maddie just convinces Tracy to break it off with him, to send like these risky texts and whatnot, like, oh, like, we're done, we're over, you, I think she said like, you asshole or something. And then afterwards they have like a little heart-to-heart of some sort. I don't remember how the mood exactly changes.
She just is like, hey, by the way, is the rumor true?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that moment. Or Maddie says, what rumor? Tracy says, about you and Lena.
And then they just lean into each other.
And kiss. I don't know.
Which wasn't expected at all. Like, with the first watch, was like, whoa, like, I wanted it to be gay, but I didn't know it was going to happen.
I didn't think I was going to get it. Woo. What do you think is up with Tracy? What is she?
I think sexuality-wise?
Like, yeah, what is she doing? What's happening,
I think she's just in high school and just is very emotional and is just not thinking and just doing whatever this, I guess, feels right in the moment. I don't know. Maybe she was just like, are you gay? Oh, you're gay? You know what? Why not? Like, and it didn't seem like a very hesitant kiss either. So.
No, yeah, she definitely wasn't forced into it or anything. She was, like, fully there for it.
And then, I don't remember what happens in between that party and the next one.
The big, like, game happens, or the big rally happens.
Oh, right. And then they go to the party after the rally.
Mm-hmm. And it's the party that always happens, and it's all of the football players and all of the cheerleaders hanging out and smoking and drinking again in the middle of nowhere in this, like, in the woods, for some reason. I don't know why. Like, it's cold. Isn't there a barn somewhere? It seems like there would be a barn around there.
But yeah, then there's, like, this cute scene where, Tracy and Maddie are getting, like, all, like, cutesy with each other. Like, Maddie is brushing, Tracy's hair, being like, so do a good job tonight, since it was, like, her first rally and all. And it was really cute. And then Hannah's staring up at Lena at the party, Lena had followed Maddie to the after party. And Leanna, is it Leanna or just Leanne?
It's Lena.
Lena and Hannah get to talking, and
there's a random reading for her.
Yeah, and like Hannah's all cool with the witchy stuff. Like, she doesn't care. I think she's just curious. And then Lena sets up some sort of spell or whatever, where Hannah can, like, make a wish or get what she wants. So there's, like, a rock to represent her someone close to her, her sister, and then someone close to that person, which is Manny. And then Lena tells Hannah to think about what you want to be, or like I think she says that, or what you want
carefully, because if you don't, you have to be careful what you wish for, essentially.
And I thought that was interesting, knowing, like, what happens later. Does Hannah want to be with Manny, or does she just want to be like her sister?
Hadn't even thought of that.
But we can go back to that once we bring up the big reveal, like the big twist in the movie. I just think it was funny, Terry, when he's having the talk with the boys about, we're not going to be with the cheerleaders anymore. Like, they're strictly off limits now because I can't date one anymore, so none of you guys can date them.
I literally thought the same exact thing. And then he goes, you know what's better? Pedophilia. We'll go to the freshmen. Because he talks about how they were the summer before blowing bubbles in 8th grade. That is not something you talk about when you're thinking about
creepy.
Potential partner. Terry is terrifying.
I am terrified of Terry.
I hate that man.
So Terry makes his new rule that no one can date the cheerleaders because he can't date one. And then he goes on to compare the NFL of high school football. He's like, if the NFL can do it because they have a rule where they can't
Yeah,
date the
date the
cheerleaders.
cheerleaders.
The high schoolers can do it too. It's like, you're a high school football. Get yourself together. I don't know. Don't make this your peak, buddy.
And then the absolute chef's moment happens when they're all so angry at each other, and so the cheerleaders are like, okay, we're leaving. And Tracy is so mad, and she...
No, we forgot something. We forgot to mention that at the party that Maddie and Tracy had sex.
Oh, right! They went... Oh, wait, we forgot. Okay, also that moment where Maddie brings Tracy close and starts whispering in her ear, but then she's looking up at Lena in the cliff. Did you notice that?
Yes.
She, like, stares her down and is doing, like, obviously a not friendly thing.
Yeah.
And then they go off and bang.
Have sex, yeah.
And Lena sees and storms off.
Yeah, and then...
We see the first moment where she, like, has magic. Because she gets so emotional, that purple stone starts glowing.
Right.
And then Lena leaves the party and drives off to go cry.
Same.
And then...
Poor Lena.
Because Terry wasn't there. Terry wasn't at the party, remember?
Yeah, I can understand why.
'Cause
was
he
still
got broken up
butthurt.
with.
Yeah, and then the bitches come up to the dogs, the football team, and I don't remember what happened. Some sort of confrontation between Terry and Tracy.
Where she's just very angry at him and is like, you guys can go ahead and go fuck the freshmen. Go ahead, like, we don't care. We can go find some college
because they were
boys.
talking down on Martha. Because Martha won't have sex with...
Yeah, exactly. And we'll go find some college-age boys. Just, like, the best moment right here is where Tracy tells Terry off about making her come. And it is the funniest thing because she mentions a sweet boy...
From summer camp her freshman year.
Her freshman year.
Herself.
And then Maddie. And it is the funniest moment. Terry freezes. And he's like, what?
Yeah, and then he stares down at that little bracelet.
Because Maddie is instigating it. She's playing with that.
Yes, this is all a part of Maddie's little
plan
so far. Getting with Terry's girlfriend to get back at him.
And then it all goes wrong.
Yeah, this is where it gets very real and very dark, and there's a very big shift in the tone of the movie. It goes from, like, high school drama to, like, real life danger. Because Terry socks Tracy in the face after she tells him he has a small dick, like, 5 times.
Just wails her in the
Like,
face.
he gets violent so quickly, and she's, like, sobbing on the ground. Then Maddie tells off the football team because none of them will do anything about it.
They all just stand there and look and do nothing. And it is just all of a sudden just so much fighting because people are trying to hold Terry back and trying to hold Tracy back.
Yeah.
And then all the cheerleaders leave and get in their car, and the footballers decide that they're going to chase them?
Because they don't want them to tell, because they'll get their football season taken away from them. So it's mostly Terry that... Isn't it just Terry that goes
Well, they all get in the car,
It's
though.
Terry driving the car, though.
Yeah.
He's the one that is, at this point, most angrily fueled. Everyone else is just kind of being a bystander and going with it, because everyone is scared of Terry in the movie. The cheerleaders,
terrified of
the
him.
footballers, they're all scared of Terry. He's like the big bad guy in this. So Terry, he's chasing the girls in a car, and they fall off a cliff into the water, and the car's like, they're gonna drown, and some of the boys go out and be like, we gotta do something, like...
There's only one who does.
Yes.
It's only Vic. Vic is the only one who tries to save them, but
Yes.
Ben and
Holding him back.
they're all holding him back. And Manny doesn't do anything, and Terry obviously doesn't do anything.
And then
they just drive off. What was their plan? What was the thought process behind any of that? What were they gonna do? I'm so confused about that. What was the plan?
I mean, they weren't thinking. Terry was just let them die, and the rest were like, well, we don't want to be murderers, so they just drive off, and, like, they're in shock because they just killed someone. Like, someone's. And then Lena finds them and, like, drags all their bodies out of water, is the only one who does anything. They're all already dead. She's, like, sobbing.
And then the stones start glowing, and she casts a spell and brings them all back to life with the stones going into their bodies, which is so gross.
And then, oh my gosh, we have to mention this before we move on from the scene. The electronic music that played.
I love the techno!
There was like some that had not been played before in the movie. Just this big, loud electronic music that played when like the gemstones got inside them, and you could just, if you didn't know there was going to be a change in tone of the movie, like now you know. That is this movie telling you we're moving on now. And then they wake up in, I think, Lena's house, and one of them wakes up and
flings a cat.
Flings Madeline, the cat, across the room, and she dies again. The cat dies again.
It was
the
very
most funny.
Hysterical moment. I love all animals, I promise, and it is only funny because Madeline is brought back to life by Lena.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have been as funny.
So all these girls wake up, and they are all very notably wearing white or silver or some form of white as probably a symbol of rebirth. And some of them are like they wake up and they're covered in like bruises or cuts and whatnot, whatever injuries they got in that accident or from Terry when they punched her. So they're all waking up confused, not really remembering what happened.
Mm-hmm. We find out that Martha and Hannah have switched bodies.
Which is, I bring back to Hannah thinking about, what do you want? Like, did she want Manny or did she just want to be Martha? Because Martha's like the pretty smart one, and she's everyone looks down on her. They're like, oh, she's a kid.
Yeah. Hannah's very baby. She's not even a cheerleader. She's the mascot for the cheerleading squad.
Yes. So, yeah.
Like, she's very quiet and small.
I honestly think she just wanted to be her sister.
A little bit. She wanted what her sister had. I don't know if she wanted to be her sister.
Exactly. So then, I guess it's kind of explained to them what happened. Oh, I brought you back to life. Yes, it worked. And they're all kind of like putting things together and like reacting to the situation that they're in. And then I feel like Tracy is like the most cool about it.
Yeah, I don't know why. She just wants to go back to school.
She was like sitting on the like staircase, I think, upset about something. Then she was, oh, I'm hungry. So then she goes across the street.
It's like, I guess she just lost her humanity quicker than everybody else.
Yeah, she shifted very quick. She goes over to Lena's neighbor's house and like greets him, and she's like, and she's just in a bra and boy shorts.
Yeah.
A lacy bra.
Just white. Very interesting choice.
And then she goes into this guy's house and eating their food. And can we just talk about how much milk she drinks? Do you remember that comment she made? It says,
she says she drinks
half a gallon a day.
That is so much milk.
Tracy's that character that's like, I don't care if I'm lactose intolerant. I'll keep drinking the milk, because she chugs a gallon like on screen. So she goes to this guy's house and like seduces him and then essentially eats him.
The eating is so sexual.
It is very sexual. Like, all the girls, like, come in and they're, like, leaning over his body. And then Lena just goes, I don't remember the neighbor's name. She goes, so sorry, like, my friends are hungry. So, yeah, we find out that in order to, like, heal, have energy, that these undead cheerleaders have to now feast upon human blood.
Who knew that the power of love would turn you into zombies?
Yeah.
And then we have Terry and all of his buddies flirting with a whole bunch of freshmen who look like literal children, which makes it all the worse because none of the actual characters look like teenagers. They all look like adults, and it makes me so uncomfortable.
Oh, and then
we have the good old slow-mo walk.
Yes, behind some nice soundtrack.
As the cheerleaders are coming in, because the footballers think that they're dead.
Yeah.
And there's just the good music and
Lena's leading them.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. And they just stare Terry down. And you see Martha and Hannah's body in the mascot suit, just like walking behind them.
Poor Martha. Martha is a very tall character, so I wonder how she adjusted to being.
Oh my goodness.
Hannah's short and Martha's tall, so I don't know how the adjustment was. But the guys are obviously like clearly shocked to see them, and some of the guys are all like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we tried
to save
you, but there wasn't enough of us." All the girls are just like, "It's okay," but obviously, like, you have the feeling that they intend to murder them.
Tracy is the first one to kill somebody, like, alone.
In the van.
In the van.
So she takes Ben. She makes him give her weed as an apology.
What an apology.
It's like, if you get me high, like, all is forgiven. And he's like, oh, okay. So they go to his van, his weed van, and they go get high.
He insults her by saying that her cut on her head is gross.
Yes.
And then she kills him.
And at the same time, we see that Hannah in Martha's body is seducing Manny, like throws him in the handicap bathroom and, oh, I want to have sex. And Manny's like, are you sure? Because Martha's a very I'm waiting till marriage sort of woman. And Manny and Hannah in Martha's body have sex. And it's funny because
He's never had
sex. And when he's in her, he's like, you can tell he's very shocked. And he's like, oh, it's like cold. Because their bodies are dead.
He later calls it a
sweet, sweet freezer.
A sweet, sweet freezer.
He's like, I didn't know it was cold. And his friend's like, what? It's that sweet, sweet freezer. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and Hannah tells him to call her Hannah, even though she's in Martha's body.
Yes, and he's fine with it.
He's probably like, what? The weirdest role play in the entire...
He just wanted to have sex, though.
He
didn't
really
care.
Did. How desperate must you be? That's weird. That's really weird. Why would you say yes?
The interesting part, the reason why I brought up the very uncomfortable sex scene that I clearly did not want to talk about, as they are having sex, the rest of the girls are like orgasming at the same time. Like their bodies are all interconnected. So there's girls on the ground like moaning, and then poor Martha in Hannah's body doesn't know what's going on because she's never had sex. She's going, God, Jesus, help me! And everyone's like, what is wrong with her? Because she's never had sex, so she doesn't know what it really feels like. So she's just confused.
So
she thinks she's dying.
It's just so bad.
Yeah.
You can tell this was written by a man.
Can you, Hal?
They all had
an orgasm
together.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Like, and it's just, we all uncomfortably look at these 5 girls orgasming. I don't need it. These are high schoolers.
Yeah, I thought about that, like all the butt shots and all the orgasming. I'm like, I, as a 24-year-old, am watching these teenage girls all orgasm, and it's very uncomfortable.
Technically, they're all adults.
I'm 23, shit, not 24. Whoops.
But they're still, I'm supposed to view them as teenagers.
So then they all orgasm, and then that guy, Ben, dies because Tracy eats him, and then Leanne makes a rule of Lena makes a rule of no feeding during school hours because...
You don't need to kill people during school hours. You're going to get caught, obviously.
And then Martha in Hannah's body finds out that Hannah had sex with Manny. Mm-hmm. And so she convinces Manny to go outside and so they can, like, talk to each other. Martha's like, why did you have sex with why would you do that with my sister?
And Manny's like, you don't have to be like your sister.
Like a prissy, bossy bitch. And then
everybody
Martha
hates that.
Yeah, Martha just snaps and goes on a rampage and kills Manny. Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. I wrote this down before the scene started because I knew it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I just remembered Martha was so just willing to kill her boyfriend.
Well, I think, again, it might be the whole, like, losing humanity thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because the girls adjust, I feel like, pretty quickly. And Leanne's, like, totally, like, on board with it. I feel like Leanne gives me, like, the crazy scientist feel. Oh my gosh. Lena. Take a shot every time I call Lena Leanne, I guess. So Lena seems very, like, excited about this whole thing. It's her dream come true. Like, it's her, this is...
Well, it's true. Like, she is a witch. Like, it's,
I know, but
it's wonderful to know that you're, you know.
But, yeah, so...
But, yeah, but why did Manny date Martha if she was so bitchy? Is what I
because it's like a trophy thing. She's a pretty girl.
That's true.
He's not the best looking guy, I'm gonna tell you that, so it gives him some, like, rep and some, like...
Oh, and also, probably the whole, like...
If you can steal her virginity, because she's very stuck up and does not want to have sex till marriage, so if he can get her, then, like, he's, like, a sex god or whatever, I guess.
Sex god.
And then, with the no feeding at school rule, Maddie starts to get hungry, and this is such a weird scene.
They do this thing multiple times with the music.
Yeah, Lena kind of cuts her hand and allows Maddie to drink because
she needs blood
to survive. And this is like a very oddly romantic scene, kind of like sexual almost. There's this romantic music, like
I wouldn't call it necessarily sexual. I feel like it's more romantic.
Like, she is putting her hand in her mouth.
Well, yeah, but you don't hear like the slurping like they did with the neighbor's body.
I guess so.
It's just the romantic music, and it's...
Then there's, like, the bubbly, like, screen over it that's all romantic and soft. The screen goes soft, and it goes on for a long time. So, again, I really had Lena in my head, like, as, like, the weird stalker girl, so maybe she wasn't, I guess.
They were friends.
Yeah, I guess so. They must have had something that's just coming to surface now. Oh, and then we find out Terry steals the stones from Lena's locker.
The footballers find the various bodies of their friends who have been killed by the cheerleaders.
Yes.
But for some reason, don't say anything to anyone. I don't
They
really...
don't react very much. They're just like, oh, well, that sucks.
Well, oh no.
I don't remember what I was talking about, but I was probably talking about Terry when I said, OMG, it's just high school football. Oh, it was when,
when
Vic tries to quit the football team and he, like, threatens his life because, like, he wants to not be the quarterback anymore. And I noticed Terry gets violent very quickly. His first reaction is murder. Like, to something he doesn't like, he's like, I'll fucking kill you. He's a murderous man. Like,
He is. Also, I'm just gonna say, I don't know if this is just the actor's face, or he's just very good body-wise, because his eyes are dead.
Yeah.
They go back to Lena's house.
Yes.
And they're fighting. They're bickering. We see that Martha has a phone. We don't know how she has a phone because everybody's phone presumably has drowned in the river or floated away with the car. So no one has a phone. And so Tracy starts bickering and wants to look at her social medias. Maddie tells Tracy to just use her computer while she goes and showers. And they find Maddie's video diary.
That she made at the beginning of the movie.
Talking
to be
about
like, oh, I'm gonna
bitches.
join these bitches. It's gonna be so easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get revenge on Terry
And Tracy
and whatnot. And she specifically made fun of Tracy.
yeah.
So, and then Tracy sees that, as does a few other girls.
And
And
storms
then
off.
Storms off. Maddie's like, I didn't know you a week ago. This is a misunderstanding.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you a week ago. And then Hannah finds out that Martha killed Manny because
And that's a big thing.
Martha has Manny's phone. That's the phone that she has. And she's angrily scrolling through, looking at all the mean messages he sent. And
I would do the same.
And Hannah's just distraught. She cries.
Yeah. And there's that whole, like, oh, like, poor little weak Hannah or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's seen as, like, or I guess assume she is the weakest among all of them. So the girls are pretty much, like, splitting off at this point because, like, things are kind of going crazy and whatnot. I believe Terry gets Tracy. Terry captures Tracy.
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Terry gets Hannah first.
Oh, yeah.
And then Martha finds out and goes to save her, and they get Martha as well.
Mm-hmm.
They kill Hannah and steal the stone from her.
Right, and
Terry eats it,
Martha,
which I hate.
Martha goes absolute batshit on
Terry.
And
then he captures her and, like, bends her bones and everything.
Oh,
and it's a whole thing where they start chasing... What?
I was gonna mention, back at the house, when Maddie's in the house by herself.
Oh, we almost forgot.
Lena comes over to comfort her, and she's like,
what did Terry do?
What did Terry do? Because
she wants revenge so badly, so why would she want revenge?
And then we find out that Maddie, while interviewing Alexis's friends the previous semester...
As a way to tribute her.
Yes. Was interviewing Terry, and Terry, she said, seemed like a normal guy, like relaxed and like a real person, and then
he came on to her
and raped her.
Yeah.
So that was...
And this is the moment, I don't know how I feel about this, because we're hearing the story, and we're seeing Terry stabbing Hannah to get her the stone out of her. I'm not sure if I like it.
I understand what they were going for. I don't know if I essentially wanted to really see it, but I can understand why they did it. It's like Maddie's getting raped, and at the same time Terry is penetrating Hannah with a knife, and it's very obvious what you're supposed to like. The click, it's similar.
I'm also just gonna say real quick, falls again into this trope of trying to be a feminist movie.
Yeah.
But really loves to watch the suffering of women.
Yeah.
Because we don't see the guys suffer that much.
No.
I'm just gonna... Not that I want to see them suffer.
At least Terry.
But...
Which I feel...
We don't see the guys suffer. But the girls,
Constantly.
It is constant. When Hannah dies, she's getting very obviously, quote unquote, penetrated by this knife, and it's being ripped out of her, and you just hear her screaming.
It's like very grotesque and very hard to watch, I feel like.
We see Martha getting her arm bent out of the socket, and she's just screaming again.
I think I looked away during that part.
It's just constantly just awful.
Oh, and then there was this whole bear trap scene.
Okay, we see earlier in the movie Terry messing with bear traps for some unknown reason, and then they come back because Terry laid a trap. Because what he's doing is he's swallowing all these stones from all of the girls.
Because he wants power.
And so he set a trap for these girls to follow him so he can harvest their stones. Tracy falls right into the trap, and it's spikes and bear traps, and she's awful. Just screaming, and she bends down and puts her hand down, and a bear trap bites her arm.
It's awful.
It's just awful, and there's just no reason for it, honestly.
Yeah,
And then later on, they chase them all the way, and Terry takes Lena to the cemetery.
Yes.
And is like, I want to know how to use the stones, because it turns out he did steal them. And Lena's like, no, I'm not going to tell you. And Terry starts to go for the stone that's in her neck.
Yes.
Then Maddie comes out of nowhere and goes to save Lena and says that she's her girlfriend.
I don't remember that.
Don't you remember? Because Terry's like, what is she? Your ex-friend? Your friend? Your ex-girlfriend?
Yeah.
And she comes out of nowhere and goes to stab Terry, or hurt him at least, and says girlfriend, because for some reason they had the relationships talk somewhere along the way. And then Terry gets the one up on her and goes to stab her again, and it's just, again, more grotesque harm towards women, because she's just screaming.
Yeah, doesn't she?
She's basically having Maddie's having a panic attack, essentially. Yeah. Once again, she's being quote unquote penetrated by Terry as he's about to stab her, and then Lena saves her by.
But she's dead, isn't she?
No, she's not dead yet. Because she's like, no, and she gets all the stones and they start swirling.
I want to talk about this. She didn't just say no, she's literally
that was at the end.
Oh,
remember?
Never mind. Sorry.
Because she starts summoning all the stones and they start swirling, and they rip out of Terry's stomach, and then they rip out of the back of Maddie, and then out of Lena's throat. Obviously, Terry dies. Lena gets her stone back, but Maddie's dead because she doesn't have her stone anymore, which was what was keeping her alive. But then, there you go.
And then, Maddie's dead. And quite literally, Lena screams life back, like 5 to 10 second long scream.
That
screams
girl
the stone.
Has lungs.
Yeah, she screams life back into Maddie, and then they kiss.
Yeah, they're back together. And then, they set up a sequel.
Yes.
Because one of the stones that Lena had used goes into the ground, because they're at a cemetery, and brings Alexis back to life.
Alexis, the girl who died in the
very beginning.
And then she goes, Lena! Like, she just screams Lena, and I'm like, what beef does Lena have with Alexis? Like, what? There is no sequel of... Oh, wait, no, is there?
There's not a sequel. They say part 1. Like, there's going to be a part 2.
Yes.
And I want a part 2 so bad.
I would enjoy a part 2. Something that we didn't get to talk about. Terry was just, so dumb. Like... He just can't have power because he very clearly just didn't know how to use it. It just felt very man who has power doesn't know what to do with it and just goes crazy with it and abuses people with it. And I keep forgetting, even as, someone who loves gay media and gay content, that this movie is to LGBT relationships in this movie, but it's not very, I don't know if it's not in a negative way, but I want to say this movie is... it's not the most positive LGBT movie there could have been.
I think it feels very...
I mean, a man wrote it.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, it feels still like a straight relationship somehow. Does that make sense?
I mean, you were in no way, shape, or form, I think, were we rooting... I mean, we kind of wanted Lena, I guess, to figure herself out and, have a good ending, but I don't think you were necessarily rooting for Maddie and Lena to get together. If anything, I really liked Tracy and... Maddie,
really?
But essentially, but I guess it was
You like the Mean Girls, though. You like
I
Mean
do,
Girls.
but, like, who knows if... I think Maddie did have feelings for Tracy, but it was obviously initially a revenge thing. And that brings me to the point. Is this a rape revenge story? Is All Cheerleaders Die a rape revenge story?
I think you could label it as such.
Not like it's... Not mainly because obviously there's undead girls. Part of it is rape revenge, but you don't find out it's rape revenge until the end where she's like, yeah, Terry had raped me, and that is why she wanted to get revenge on him and get with Tracy. It's not your typical, like, rape revenge where it's, oh, I'm gonna sleep with his girlfriend. It's usually, oh, I'm gonna murder the people who did this to me.
Yeah. I don't think she, like, Maddie initially was aiming to sleep with Tracy. I think it was a happy coincidence.
Really?
Well, how would she have known that Tracy was gonna be down for it?
That's true, but
Like,
Maddie's pretty enough that she could, and they're in high school, so... But, like, what was her revenge then? What was she gonna do?
Well, I mean, she's, like, her plan was to get them to be broken up.
Right,
So,
right, yeah.
Like, they're still broken up. It was just that extra kick with, getting with her.
I've seen this movie, like, 5 times, and I had never once thought, oh, this is kind of like a rape revenge story, but in a little bit of a different way,
Well, because I don't feel like they centered around it.
Oh, no, not at all. It's a movie about undead cheerleaders killing...
I'm just going to say
football.
there's not that much cheerleading for a movie
No,
about cheerleaders.
they just wear their cheerleader uniforms the whole time.
They really just wanted the forced relationship between cheerleaders and football
Yes.
players.
It felt very high school, which I feel like put it in the campy mood. It's just very typical and cliche, like, like,
so cliche.
cheerleaders and football guys, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Do you think this is, like, a good movie? Like, what would you rate it out of...
I would not say it's a good movie.
It has a 5.1 on IMDb.
It's a 5.1?
Yeah, I looked over your phone
Yeah.
when you were on it. I think it's an enjoyable watch. I don't think it's a good movie. Clearly, I think
No.
it's an enjoyable watch because we
We
watched
watched
it and
times.
we named our podcast after it. But I think it's just one of those dumb movies that's so much fun to watch because it's so ridiculous. There's drama. It's undead cheerleaders. Like,
And
what
like,
more could you want?
We're just a couple of gays.
Yeah.
We like to see gays.
In horror,
Yeah.
specifically.
You don't get to see many lesbians
Mm-mm.
hanging around. Those are very rare. I like a couple of them every once in a while.
It wasn't the best movie, like...
No. You just can't take it too serious.
Oh,
It's a camp.
no.
It's very campy. That's just how it is, you know.
I feel like you either, like, watch campy movies and you know, like, it's not gonna be good, like, this is what you expect out of those, or you watch them and you'd be like, what the fuck was that? That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
And I'm not sure this movie is necessarily saying anything.
Yeah, there's not really a message to it. Do witchcraft, I guess. I don't know. Be gay, do witchcraft.
If you had to give this movie a rating, like on a scale from, we'll say, 1 pom-pom, which is really, really bad, to 10 pom-poms, which is, like, really good.
I would give it 5.5 pom-poms, I think.
5.5. Why would you give it 5.5? I'm curious.
Well, 5 is not quite enough. Like, it's right down the middle. Like, oh, it was sort of good, but it was also kind of bad. But while this movie is bad, given it is a campy type movie, I do find a lot of enjoyment in it personally. I know it's not for everyone, but I personally really enjoy it. I like dumb movies like this. I like just watching ravenous cheerleaders eat up a football team as revenge. I think it's fun. Obviously, I think it's good enough to watch 5 or 6 times and talk about it on a podcast and talk about it.
And name our podcast after it?
Yes, and then talk about it with people I know and recommend it to them. So, yeah, probably 5.5 pom-poms out of 10.
Okay. I do not have as much faith, I guess, in the movie. I'm gonna give it a 3.
A 3?
A 3 pom-pom.
That's sad.
Not that I don't enjoy it. I'm just saying it's not a good movie.
If a movie is a 3, I rarely rewatch it.
I rewatch 3s all the time. I think it's hysterical. I laugh. But you know what? I think Cat in the Hat's funny. That doesn't mean it's a good movie.
This is a horror podcast.
Have you seen Cat in the Hat? It's terrifying.
Not.
big time disagree. I think it is worth at least 5 pom-poms.
I can say that it's a movie that I enjoy without it actually having been good.
Okay, that is fair. But if you had to, like, all together, taking out your personal bias...
It's
and
not a
setting that
personal bias!
Your personal bias against...
It's not a personal
all
bias!
your personal, like, your guilty pleasures, like, and setting all those things aside, like, is this an actual good movie that is well made? You would rate it a 3.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm putting all those guilty pleasures and all those things I love in it, and it's a 5.5 pom-pom for me.
We are all entitled to our own opinions, even if they are not correct.
I just can't believe that you're the one who suggested this name, and you think it's only 3 pom-poms?
I am not saying it's not a good movie. I am just saying that it's not a good movie.
Alright, I'll still recommend it.
I'll still recommend it too. Okay, I guess that'll be it for our very first episode of All Podcasters Die.
Join All Podcasters Die same time next week, where we will be discussing Vince Vaughn and his girlish running. Thank you for tuning in. This is Hannah Wintz.
And Anastasia Scott.
See you next week on All Podcasters Die. Bye!
Bye!